As you may have noticed, my videos of late have been pretty right-wing. Britain's bleak demographic future, examining the case for eugenics, in defence of nepotism, some pretty out there stuff. But today I want to talk about how exactly I got here. How did I become such an outspoken dissident for what I call the true right? Any group that views itself as chosen is hostile, with no exceptions. We have nowhere else to go. This is our country and our people. We must defend our nation. We are under no obligation to be fair or neutral. Britain's demographic future looks incredibly bleak. The reasons outlined in this video are why. You see, I wasn't always like I am now. Back when I was a wee lad, before I knew anything about Benjamin Disraeli, let alone Oswald Spengler, I would read books about science, watch shows like QI, and generally just do nerdy shit. You know, I was pretty smart, pretty rational, and not at all religious. So it was only natural that I would be attracted to the new atheists.
I think it's bullshit. I think that he doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, it must be terribly profound because I can't understand it. That is sheer bullshit.
If people are determined to be offended, there's nothing you can do about that.
So there can be no forgiveness without a death.
There's very, very little evidence to suggest that I'll see you all again in some theme park.
The new atheists, Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens, and various YouTubers, they would look at various aspects of religion and explain why they were total nonsense. Noah's Ark? Impossible. Kenneth Copeland? Scammer. Intelligent design? What do you call this then? Oh, you got out! To my young, rational brain, this was amazing. All those fuddy-duddy religious types who make you sit on uncomfortable benches and listen about Jesus, they're just fools. So it felt good to see intelligent chaps like Richard Dawkins put these dusty old priests in their place. I felt like I too had special knowledge, able to see what the vast majority were blind to. Sky Daddy was evil, the priests were full of crap, and the rootin' tootin' Bible-bashing Cletuses of the world were a bunch of bloody fools. I felt like I was better than all of them. For my sins, I became a smugjack. Growing up in the British education system as I did, I was hard-pressed to find anything to seriously challenge my views. So my days as basically being an insufferable Reddit atheist lasted for several years. Eventually though, something did come along to change that.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and their will must be respected.
Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
2016 was a weird time. The British public had voted for Brexit, the Yankee Doodles had voted for Trump, and the left were in a total meltdown. This was the era of the SJWs. This was a very fun time in politics. We've all revelled in the videos of Ben Shapiro destroying feminists with fact and logic. The rage compilations, the screaming, the crazy hair, oh, it was glorious. For a while, it was all in good fun. People would laugh at the liberal land whales. I mean, these people were batshit crazy. And the old formula still works now, of course. What is Libs of TikTok if not a reincarnation of the old compilations of SJWs? But no, while some of the new atheists sided with the neurotic nutbags, most of them took the position of what they called enlightened centrism. Enlightened centrism felt pretty cool. Enlightened centrists had logic, sophistication, rationality. They weren't emotional, they weren't dogmatic. Facts don't care about your feelings. Given the choice between the raving lunatics on the left and the dusty Bible bashers on the right, the enlightened centrists chose neither, for they were above this petty nonsense. Yes, again, horribly smug in the worst sort of midwit way, but that's where I was when I was about 16. However, for all the smugness and intellectual superiority, enlightened centrism could not last. At this time, the age of the radical feminist, everything was about toxic masculinity. Looking at a girl's boobs, eyes up here, fella. Sitting with your legs apart, manspreading. Explaining literally anything to a woman, mansplaining. Everywhere it seemed that basic healthy masculinity was being demonized by menopausal hags. So during these efforts to browbeat men into total submission, there was a generation of adolescent lads who simply wouldn't have it. This gave rise to the Manosphere. These days, the Manosphere and Red Pill communities have a bad reputation, and not for no reason. Clowns like Andrew Tate, Fresh and Fit, and Sneeko have truly third world attitudes when it comes to women. When the movement started though, things really weren't like that at all. This wasn't about men hating women, saying they're mentally inferior or that they should go back to the kitchen. Okay, there might have been a few jokes about that, but they were only jokes. So no, it was more about making people aware of the bias against men and saying that men have it tough too. Of course, at the time the media was portraying these people as the ultimate evil, but to anyone who seriously listened to them, they were just trying to get by and help their fellow man. Though there were countless people involved, the rising name was one Dr. Jordan B. Peterson. Now, when he wasn't talking about transgender pronouns or the natural hierarchy of lobsters, Jordan Peterson was putting out excellent commentary on psychology and masculine self-help. Clean your room. Now, of course, none of this advice was groundbreaking or anything, but for the many young men who were raised in environments utterly hostile to their natural proclivities, they'd never heard anything like this before. Peterson was a safe, sound intellectual beacon who seemed to genuinely care about the plight of young men. He was capable of explaining both how men feel and why they were being subjected to such overbearing femininity. Much of Peterson's psychology and self-help work is great, and you can't fault him for it. But important for my political journey, specifically my path out of Reddit atheism, Peterson also made the case for what's now called cultural Christianity. Cultural Christianity is effectively the bridge between atheism and the mainstream right. The idea is that you needn't accept that the Bible is literally true or that there is literally a God, but that the ideas contained within the Bible are good for civilization. So you should live as though you're Christian, regardless of whether you are one or not. It sounds a little odd, but hey, it works. It was around this time that I also stumbled upon former UKIP candidate Carl Benjamin. Now, I should say that throughout my political journey, all the way from the new atheism to the radicalisation I promised you, there has always been a constant nationalism. I was a huge fan of Britain and the Empire. So when I found Carl's video, The British Crusade Against Slavery, I was shocked. You mean to tell me that far from Britain being one of the worst slaving nations, we were actually one of the foremost abolitionists? It seemed that everything I'd been taught about my own history might be a lie. Now, I must admit that what happened after this was embarrassing. It wasn't good, it lasted too long, but it did happen. I became a conservative. There, I said it, please forgive me. I can't remember exactly where it started, but between say 2022 and 2024, I was watching a combination of Professor David Starkey, the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, the New Culture Forum, Matt Goodwin, and worst of all, trigonometry. At the time, in my defense, these channels were pushing truly new ideas, or at least as far as I was concerned. And they were saying things that truly would not have been allowed on mainstream television. So I hope you can forgive me for thinking that NCF, Matt Goodwin and trigonometry were dissidents. I was wrong, I understand that now, but let's move on. So, you know, they were all saying that immigration is too high, that the foreigners aren't integrating, and that woke policies are destroying Britain. All of this is true, it's still what I believe now, and it is what I wanted to hear then. So for over 2 years, this was the media I was consuming. I truly believed that we needed to vote our way out of this to save Britain. Alas, as I was soon to find out, this was a misdirection. Enter AA and Scrump. For those who don't know, AA, the academic agent, or Dr. Nima Parvini to give his real name, is the author of the Populist Delusion, among other titles. Much of his work has been about Italian elite theory. Italian elite theory? I've never heard of that. What's it about? Well, let me tell you. The theory is that despite all the grandiose claims about democracy and constitutions, the structure of power today is in actuality an authoritarian oligarchy. Different factions with their various interests conspire together to make sure their policies get pushed, not the desires of us peasants. Then you have Scrump. Scrump and his partner Evelyn's whole shtick is what they call anti-politics. They talk with solid evidence about how democracy is totally fake. You know, normally we get presented with some drama about how big bad Labour's going to destroy Britain, so we need to vote Tory or Reform to stop them. Or that evil Tories or evil Reform just hate foreigners and love billionaires, so we need to vote Labour to stop them. In actuality, according to AA, Scrump and Evelyn, this is all fake. These people aren't actually against each other, they're all on the same side, and they're all working for the same hidden elites. Now, I dare say that this is where I'll lose some people. There is quite a lot of prerequisite theory needed to truly appreciate that democracy is an illusion, and that all the parties are effectively on the same side. If you're not up to speed on that, then I recommend you read the Populist Delusion, to which I provide a link below. But understand that democracy is fake and that every institution and anyone who appears on mainstream media generally works for the same regime. Labour, regime. Tories, regime. Reform, regime. Quangos, regime. Courts, regime. Think tanks, regime. Even activist charities, regime. Everything is regime. Always has been. That's all well and good, but I promised you a video about radicalisation. Not to worry, my loyal viewers, that time is now. I present to you the right-wing Bible. This book, The Cultured Thug Handbook, is sure to convert any open-minded right-leaning chap to the true right. Everything is contained within to utterly detach oneself from the awful liberalism that's been instilled in us and to return us to the far wiser position of the true right. After all, right-wing philosophy is naught but the ideas that were considered normal good sense before the French Revolution. You see, I'm sure that when most non-political people think of the far right, the alt-right, the hard right, or what's not, they have images of skinheads with swastikas shouting racial epithets or going on about Muslimic law. Those people are fools. Half the time, of course, they're false flag operatives, but the actual sincere ones who think that marching down the street and causing violence will do anything are idiots. So you think there's an evil cabal of elites hell-bent on suppressing the white race, but that these elites will quiver in their boots when you and your band of Nazi LARPers walk around in a police-sanctioned protest zone? Piss off. No, instead, the people I know on the true right are on the other end of the intelligence spectrum. We understand how power works. We understand the tricks used against us. We understand what's good, and sure, we want what's best for our country. I mean, this book goes on about valuing tradition, the obligation to the people, loving your country, making the economy work for all, and living a life in keeping with nature. Does this sound radical to you? The point is that people might call us radical, but really we just want those things that are healthy and normal. We want to walk down the street without being stabbed. We want to take the bus without having to listen to some god-awful drill. We want our women and children to be safe, and we want to live in a country unburdened by welfare-leeching migrants. Sure, our ideas are a radical departure from the mainstream, but we believe that it's the mainstream that's wrong, not us. So no, I don't call myself a radical or alt-right. Instead, I call myself sensible and true right. Even Oswald Spengler, who wrote about the inevitability of the decline of the West, made peace with the position we're in. Whilst there are some things we can do to prepare ourselves for our worsening future, I would never suggest that anyone go marching on the streets or anything like that. So if you do have the unquenchable desire to save Britain, and if you do want to understand why the true right is the only reasonable philosophical position, then the Cultured Thug Handbook is the best place to start. Anyway, that's all for today, and I of course thank you for watching. You know, it's funny looking back on the political journey I've been on. Certainly never thought I'd get here. I wonder how many of you, the viewers, have been on the same paths. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you enjoyed the new content style, and I hope to see you in the next one. I have a Discord, I have a Twitter, I have channel memberships with exclusive content there, and I have a Buy Me a Coffee page if you just want to say thanks. Even just watching this far makes a huge difference. So I wish you the best, I hope to see you back soon, and in the meantime, cheerio.